We've been working on this Tetris game for quite a while now, and it feels like everything is starting to come together. We started by making the grid be rendered onto the screen, and then we sort of spent quite a while making the entire game playable and controllable. We've made all the physics work the way they're supposed to in Tetris. We've given the player some nice controls of the pieces, and so it feels like we're sort of reaching the end of what it would take to build a basic Tetris game. So, today is going to be the last video in this series. Now, this game is still pretty bare bones, and I hope that you'll sort of take it and extend it, and maybe put your own creative ideas into this game and take it farther than we will. But in terms of just building out the basic functionality of a Tetris game, we're almost done. The last thing that we're going to do, that we're going to spend today working on, is creating a scoring system so that you can have some points and sort of compare different Tetris games to each other when you play once and then play again later to see which time did you do better. It's nice to have points like that, and Tetris has sort of a system for this. Now, there are a lot of different scoring systems in different Tetris games. We are going to copy this one from the original Nintendo scoring system. We're going to sort of steal this way of doing things. And this will allow us to give points to the player for clearing lines, for clearing rows on the grid. Now, there are actually other ways to score points as well, and this table has sort of a list of them. But we're not going to do any of these. These would be awesome additions to your own Tetris game if you wanted to take this game and extend it. But for now, we're just going to keep it simple and just give points for clearing lines. So in order to start doing this, I think I'm going to make a variable called score that's going to keep track of how many points you have. And we're also going to need a variable called level. And the score and the level are sort of intertwined. They're both going to start at 0, but then they sort of affect each other. So we need them both right off the bat. So I'm going to start by just resetting score and level to both be 0 in the beginning. Score and level will both be 0 when we start the game. Alright. Then we want to increase the score every time that you clear a row. When you place a piece and one or more rows are cleared, you should score points for that. So I've got to find here, we have the find filled rows, and then we have clear filled rows. And in this clear filled rows custom block is where we want to award the points. Now if you look at the scoring system here, if you clear one line at a time, if when a piece lands it clears one row, you score 40 points times the current level, in this case n, plus 1. And the plus 1 is there because the level starts at 0. You start at level 0, and so if you multiplied just by 0 by the level, you would have problems because you'd never score any points. So we multiply by the level plus 1, but essentially when you get one line at a time, it goes up by 40 times the level plus 1. If you get two lines at a time, you get 100 points times the level plus 1. If you get 3 lines all at the same time, you get 300 points times the level plus 1. And if you get a Tetris, if you clear 4 lines all in a row, like is about to happen on this background image of the page, you can see they're about to clear 4 lines. In that case, you're going to score 1,200 times the current level plus 1. And so this is actually pretty simple to implement because we have this filled rows list, which is sort of a list of the grid item numbers. So like if we clear the bottom 4 rows, then the filled rows list would contain 22, 21, 20, and 19, those 4 numbers. And so the length of filled rows is going to change. It's going to be either 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on how many rows you've cleared when placing this piece. And so we can actually just use length of filled rows as our check for whether you've cleared 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, or 4 lines, or in most cases, 0 lines. So I'm going to add a couple of if statements here, and I'm going to check if the length of filled rows, if the number of rows that you've cleared is equal to 1, that's when we need to give you 40 points times the level plus 1. So I'm just going to add a change block that will increase our score, and we're going to change it by 40 times the current level plus 1. And so this is pretty straightforward because we're copying just directly from the wiki, from that page about how Tetris is supposed to work. And so this should, in theory, just work right out of the box. Now this is for one row. I've duplicated it, and now we can do, if you're clearing 2 rows at the same time, it should be, I believe it's 100 points. Yeah, times the level plus 1. If you're clearing 3 rows at a time, it's 300 points times the level plus 1. And if you clear 4 rows all at the same time, you get 1200 times the level plus 1. Now if we play this, it's going to take a second for me to get to a point where we're clearing rows, but hopefully we'll be able to see our score increase when we do it. So I'm almost there. Let's see. I'm actually not going to put that there. Whoops. All right. I need a block I can put in here. Not that one. This is going to take me just a second, but here we are. All right. So when I get this piece to the bottom, we're currently on level 0, and we're going to clear 1 line. So we should score 40 points, and our score here should increase. And there we go. We scored 40 points. Now it'd be good if we could try clearing multiple lines at a time. That would be ideal, although it's going to be a little bit difficult because of the situation I put myself in on the right. Although we did just get the piece that we need. All right, I'm not too worried about playing these pieces well. We're just going to get probably an orange piece would help. I'm just going to wait for an orange piece. Oh, this will work. All right, so this is going to clear 2 lines, which should score us 100 more points and take our score to 140. Again, because we're on level 0. Yes. Okay. I feel pretty good about this. I think this part is working. But of course, this level variable that we're using is never changing. We haven't programmed the level to change yet. And the way that this works is fairly straightforward as well. Essentially, the game keeps track of how many lines you've cleared total throughout the entire game. And every time that the total number of lines cleared goes up by 10, your level goes up by 1. So if you've cleared 0 lines, then you're on level 0. If you've cleared 9 lines, you're still on level 0. But as soon as you reach 10 lines cleared, then you're on level 1. And then it goes all the way up to 19. If you have 19 lines cleared, you're still on level 1. But once you hit 20 lines cleared, then you're on level 2. So we want to kind of program this in. And the first thing that we're going to need to do is keep track of the total number of lines that you've cleared. So I'm just going to make a variable to do this. It should be fairly simple. I'm just going to call it lines cleared. And I'll make it for this sprite only. And at the beginning of the game, we need to reset lines cleared. Then, every time you clear some lines, we're going back to the same part of our code here. Every time you clear some lines in our clear filled rows block, we want to increase that variable, increase the total number of lines cleared appropriately. And remember that length of filled rows is the number of lines that we're clearing at a time. And so we can just put this in here, and now lines cleared will sort of increase and keep track of how many lines total have been cleared throughout the game. Because every time we clear any lines, we'll increase that variable. Let's see if we can at least watch. This is going to take a second, but let's watch that number go up at least once. I want to see at least 1 line be cleared and see that variable go up, just to make sure it's working. Again, this takes a second. As we're doing this, we can start to think about how would we make the level go up. Here we go. Ready? Lines cleared should be 1. Boom. Okay, that's good. So lines cleared seems like it's working. And now we got to use it to increase the level. And we could almost just try taking the lines cleared and dividing it by 10, right? However many lines are cleared, you divide that by 10, and that's your level. Sort of, right? Because if I have 0 lines cleared, this would put me at level 0. If I have 10 lines cleared, this would put me at level 1. If I'm constantly setting the level to be lines cleared divided by 10. If I'm at level 10, I'm on level 1. That's great. If I'm at 20 lines cleared, then I'm on level 2. That's great. If I'm at 30 lines cleared, I'm at level 3. This is awesome. The problem is the in-between numbers. If I'm at 15 lines cleared, I shouldn't be at level 1.5. We should still just round down and put me on level 1. And so any time that we have sort of the lines cleared divided by 10 be between a whole number, if it's, I have 19 lines cleared, instead of my level being 1.9, it should be 1. And there's actually a block that does this for us. We could try using round, but that won't quite do what we want, because it could round up. And so if I have 16 lines cleared, instead of level being 1.6, it would be 2 when it should be 1. So instead of rounding, what we want to do is use the floor option. And floor will just always round down. So if we put in 1.9, it'll give us 1. If we put 2, it'll keep it at 2. 2.1 will still be 2. But 2.999 will be 2. Only once you hit 3 does it go up. And so with this floor block, if we divide and then take the floor, if we round down, now this is going to give us the appropriate level for any number of lines cleared. If I've cleared 19 lines, then I'm going to do 19 divided by 10 will give me 1.9, and the floor of that will give me level 1. But as soon as I hit 20 lines cleared, now this division problem gives me 2, and the floor of 2 is still just level 2. So we just want to do this kind of all the time, and so I'm going to throw it at the top of this forever loop. And so now, whenever our lines cleared goes up, it'll always be checking and resetting the level to the appropriate value. So in the beginning, level is still 0, but as soon as we hit 10 lines cleared, our level will increase. I'm not going to test this code quite yet, because it just takes a long time to clear that many lines, but we'll test it at the end and make sure that everything is working. Now, there's one other thing that we want to do, which is as the level increases, your piece should fall faster. These Tetris pieces are falling pretty slowly, and we want the game to get harder over time. So the way that we're going to do this is by changing the code in the update falling piece block. Right at the bottom here, we have this little if statement that tries to determine whether or not a piece should drop down a row on this current frame. So if you're pressing the down arrow, then every single frame, that piece will drop down. But if you're not, it waits until it's been 15 frames since the last drop. And you can see this piece fall timer variable counting at the bottom of the screen. If you watch it, it's going from 0 to 15 and then back to 0 again. But what we want to do is make this 15 number actually change. We want to say in the beginning, it's going to be a high number, right? In the beginning, I think we're going to actually make it start at 18 so that this number has to count all the way up to 18 before the piece falls again. But by the end, that number might be really low. It might be like 2 frames that you have to count to before the piece falls again, and that's going to make it fall faster and faster. So in order to make this number change, rather than just typing in 15, we're going to make it a variable. And I think I'm going to call it piece fall speed. And again, I'll make it for this sprite only, although it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to plug the piece fall speed into this slot right here. And what we want to do is in the beginning, we want our piece fall speed to be 18. So for now, I'm just going to say set piece fall speed to 18. And that'll be just a little bit slower than it was before. You can see there's not too much of a noticeable difference, but that piece is falling just a tiny bit slower than it used to. But it's essentially the same. Now, what we want to do is make the fall speed, we want this number to shrink as the level gets bigger. As your level increases, this number should go down. So it's going to start at 18, but every time you level up, every time your level increases by 1, the piece fall speed should decrease by 2. And remember that decreasing will actually make it go faster because it's less time that you have to wait until the piece falls again. So we're going to start at 18, but we're going to subtract 2 times the current level. So every time that the level goes up by 1, this piece fall speed will go down by 2. We're subtracting 2 times the current level. And so now you can see the piece fall speed is 18, but when we go through and test this at the end and we level up, we'll see that piece fall speed get smaller. Now, the one problem is that if your level gets too high, if you go to level 9 or above, if you go past level 9, your piece fall speed will actually be negative, right? Because if I'm on level 10, I could have 18 minus 20 is going to be a piece fall speed of negative 2, which is no good. So I'm just going to throw an extra little if statement in here. And I'm going to say if the piece fall speed is, let's see, if it's less than 0, then we'll just make it be 0. If the piece fall speed is less than 0, we will set it to 0. And so that does mean that at some point, once your level gets too high, you will end up sort of maxing out the speed where the piece won't fall any faster. But that kind of makes sense because at that point, the piece is falling one row every single frame. And in order to make it go faster than that, you would actually have to make the piece fall multiple rows in a single frame. And that's a lot of extra work. And so we're just going to leave this how it is. Although, if you did want to try that out as an addition to this game, that would be something cool to try programming. So we've got our piece fall speed, we've got our score, we've got our level, and I think now it's time to really give it a proper test. It's going to take some time, and so while we're doing this, while I'm sort of playing Tetris and trying to clear some rows and see our score change, I want to talk about some ideas that I have, because I want to see you, all of the viewers, sort of extend this game. I think it would be really cool for people who are watching these videos not to just follow along, but also to sort of add your own ideas and improve this game yourself. And so I've sort of been talking throughout this video about different ways that you could do that, but I have a couple of more ideas that I want to just share. One thing that I think would be good would be the better scoring. Remember, we were talking about this table at the bottom that has all these different scoring options that sort of reward the player for doing interesting things. And so that would be one cool way to improve the game. Another, if I open my list back up here, another would be to have a hold piece. So a hold piece is really cool because it allows you to save a piece for later. You might have seen this in Tetris games before where maybe off in the top right you have a little box. And if you have a piece that's falling from the top of the screen that you don't like or that you want to save for later, you could press a key and sort of swap it out. Whatever is your hold piece becomes your current piece, and your current piece becomes your hold piece. You could trade them. That would be a really cool feature to add, and I think it would actually be relatively easy to do. Not the easiest thing ever, especially because you got to draw the piece in the box, but it would be possible, and I think it would make the game a lot better. Another thing that we could do is add some music and sound effects to the game. The Tetris has the A theme and the B theme that you could probably download somewhere and include them, or you could try adding music of your own. Maybe if you're musically inclined, you could even try recording yourself playing the Tetris theme on the piano or something. That would be super cool. Another thing is like an animated line clear. Right now, when you clear a line, it just disappears instantly. But it would be cool if that was animated. Now, speaking of line clears, we're about to see 3 of them go away. Our score should increase by, I think, 300 because we're on level 0. We're already at 40. Now we're at 340. So that's really good. Our score just increased. Now, our level hasn't gone up, but hopefully, our number of lines cleared has. Yeah, and you can see we're at 4 lines cleared. I must have cleared one earlier that I didn't really notice because we were at 40 points. So we've got 4 lines cleared, and our score is going up. Once we get to 10 lines cleared, we'll hopefully see the level increase and the piece fall speed decrease. But that's going to take a little bit more time. And in the meantime, I have some more ideas. So another cool thing to add would be start and end screens for the game. So right now when you lose, I just have a stop all block. Here's 2 more lines. Ready? Boom. I just have a stop all block that sort of kills the whole game. But it would be nice if there was a screen that maybe showed you your score and gave you the option to play again. I think that would be a cool addition. Now, that's all I have in my list. Those are all the ideas that I have written down. But I think the best ideas are the ones that are your own. If you have ideas, stuff that you want to add to this game, and you remix it, that would be so cool. So please, if you do make stuff, leave a link in the YouTube comments or remix it on Scratch. Somehow send me a link because I want to see the stuff that you're doing. I want to see the ideas that you have and that you're adding to this game because it's something that I'm really excited about. All right, this is going to take us to 9 lines cleared when this hits the bottom. We're at 7. Now we're at 9. And right now, we're going to clear 2 more, and we're going to get to 11 lines cleared. And that should take us to level 1 because we're past 10. So hopefully this works. Yes, we're on to level 1. And you can see that our piece fall speed is no longer 18. It's actually dropped down to 16, which is perfect. So this looks like an indication to me that everything is working. And if we continue to play, our sort of piece would continue to fall faster and faster. We'd score more points. Oh, that's a good thing to notice, actually. We should be scoring more points now for every line clear. There we just, well, I didn't really track it, but yeah, if we keep track of how many points we're making, it should be that everything is doubled because we're on level 1 instead of level 0. All right, this is, I think, going to clear 1 line, and we should score 80 for this rather than 40. We should score 80, and there we did. All right, so I'm feeling really good about this scoring system. Again, there are more ways to score that we could add to this game. We could allow you to get points for T-spins and all of these different tricks, and that would be a cool addition. But we're not going to do that for now. This is going to be the final video. And so I really don't have anything more to add other than, I guess, hiding some of these variables that we don't need anymore. I'm going to share the project that I currently have. And so if you haven't been following along and creating this project yourself in Scratch, you're welcome to remix this project. There will be a link to it in the video description. It'll be available on my Scratch profile page at PullJosh. And I really am excited to see what you do with this game. So thanks for watching, for sticking through with these videos. It's been a lot of them. And I hope you have fun making your own games in Scratch.